Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good day, everyone. I'm going to take you on module 6, business ethics and social responsibility. Issue of ethics and social responsibility. This model is going to talk about ethics and social responsibility. As far as entrepreneurs are concerned, business ethics is very important because it's something that guides them on how to operate as a legal person or individual that are responsible for their actions and doing what is right for their customers and their other stakeholders, and then socially responsible to their community and people around them. So business ethics. Business ethics is a moral guidelines for the conduct of business based on notion of what is right, wrong, and fair. Most business people rely upon their own conscience in making business decisions, falling back upon their own moral and religious background for guidance. In most situations, not only business, personally, people, always, fall back to their religious and moral, teaching in deciding on major, things that affect their lives. Similar to businesses, business entrepreneurs or business owners, use similar, system to guide their decision whenever they embark on. But at times, the needs for the shareholders and maybe the colleagues and the business environment and some other challenges may force the entrepreneur or the business manager to unethically behave or to go extra mile to adulterate and do to go out of the way to do certain things in order to make profits or to satisfy the need of the shareholders or owners or other stakeholders of the business. So a lot of things happen that indicate how unethically entrepreneurs or business people go to deceive their customers and make profit in their expense. So there was a case of Pfizer, it's a medical drugs company, very well known to almost everybody. This company, developed a particular medicine. I can't remember the name of the medicine. It has been long. So they wanted to, conduct a trial of the medicine. It's on, I think, polio-related, elements. So they brought the medicine to Kano State, without informing the parent of the children and some other, gatekeepers. They trialed the medicine on some children, about 200 of them. So as a result of the trial, a lot of them, the medicine, the trial version of the medicine had, negative effect on them. Some of them, died, some crippled, some paralyzed, and things like that. At that very time, nobody knew, nobody related the reaction to the medicine. But later on, after research and what have you, they were able to discover that, all those things that happened to those children, happened because of that, medicine trial. So they sued the company and, the company, the case, I think, was in court that cost the company, millions of dollars, of euros. So this is how, unethical behavior, results in bringing issues to business. No matter how successful you are on ethically operating, there is a day when you will be cut off, and that's when you realize your mistakes. So as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, an entrepreneur should, supposed to ethically operate, based on, the ethical guidelines and his conscience, to do the right thing, and offer the true value to his customers or consumers. So over the recent years, many companies and industries have attempted to develop code of conduct, which can be used to guide managers when making decisions. So in order to maintain, ethical code of conduct from, entrepreneurs and business owners, these managers and, companies and what have you, came out with this code of conduct that guides, managers on how to operate, how to ethically operate, so that they will not, cheat or exploit anyone. So concept of business ethics and social responsibility. Ethics involves learning what is right or wrong. Right or wrong, whether you like it or not. That is ethics. Most times, we do things which ordinarily will bring in money to us, but because we want to do the right thing, so we don't do them. You understand? We do the right thing all the time to make sure we are ethically, behaving. Business ethics involves knowing what is right or wrong in business environment and doing what is right with regards to effect on product or service and relationship with stakeholders. Business has a lot of stakeholders. There are customers, there are owners, there are workers. All these people are responsible. Business, responsibility, which business has to, ethically behave in response to them. So according to Wikipedia 2017, a business ethics is otherwise referred to as corporate ethics, applied ethics, or professional ethics. Then social responsibility is an aspect of business ethics. Business ethics is the act of doing, right thing with regards to your business conduct. And then this social responsibility is part of it. Social responsibility, requires that the entrepreneur looks beyond making profit. It's a concept of a factor that allows that compel an entrepreneur or business owner to share part of his profit with the his immediate community, by helping them in some issues like lack of electricity, or maybe sponsoring their children, or maybe creating or building a road network. You understand, all these kind of things are example of social responsibility. So a business needs to behave responsibly, around its immediate community. This may take the form of sinking water borehole to assist the members of the community. So corporate social responsibility, when proactively undertaken, promotes the public interest by encouraging community growth and development, and by voluntarily eliminating practices that harm the public sphere, regardless of legality. So if this corporate social responsibility will be, embraced, unanimously by most of the business, in a certain community, those, efforts can be able to transform the community, because they are going to be helping the community in one way or the other, to make sure they are okay. So entrepreneur is expected to be socially responsible to all his stakeholders and encourage a positive impact through its activities on them. So who are the business or entrepreneurs stakeholders that he needs to be socially responsible to them? Number one is customers or consumers, people who patronize your product or service. There is an environment, the immediate community. Immediate community is your responsibility in terms of making sure that you don't pollute the environment, you appropriately dispose your waste and stuff like that. And then government, you need to socially responsible to government in terms of paying your taxes, in terms of registering your business, and behaving as directed by the government. Each state or country have their trade regulations that guide business operation and behaviors. So a business needs to be socially responsible by abiding by all those trade regulations. And then competitors. Competitors are people in the same line of business or producing similar product or service you are making. a business need to be socially responsible to their competitors in such a way that they don't go extra mile to, control them, to use a kind of, any process that may tarnish their image or be at a serious disadvantage to them in trying to maybe outdo or outsmart them. Then your suppliers, creditors, and agent. The suppliers are people who supply you with the raw materials you use for your production, and these people are responsible to business by supplying the raw material, and business too is responsible to them by paying its, by settling their, money when it is due. Likewise, your creditors or agent. And then employees. Employees are people who work for the organization or for the business. So business is expected to, or entrepreneur is expected to be socially responsible to his employee by paying them their due wages or salary, by taking good care of them, by giving them some, benefits that will help them, serve the company willingly and with necessary enthusiasm. And then owners or shareholders. Shareholders or owners, are expecting the business to increase their wealth, through return on investment and stuff like that. So an entrepreneur is expected to be responsible to the owners or shares of his business. And then communities or society. The community and society are also part of business social responsibility, and then all at large. So these are the major stakeholders that a business need to be socially responsible to. And then features of business ethics. Following are features of business ethics as identified by acronym 2011. Number one, code of conduct. Business ethics is like principles or guidelines that guides someone on how to behave very well in business, in the community, and wherever he happens to be. And then based on moral and social values. Most of ethical values are similar to community values and what have you. Most of the business ethics are emphasizing on doing the right thing and avoiding the bad things. And so also most of the social values and moral teachings. This is what they teach. So business ethics are based on these moral and social values. And business ethics give protection to different social groups. When business is ethically operating, it is bound to protect the interests of its major stakeholders, and it provides basic framework for doing business within limits. Ethically, responsible business, operate within every possible way that is legitimate for them to be able to operate and make their own profit. They don't unethically, go beyond their limit to maybe adulterate or maybe, provide, on substandard product, in order to make a lot of profits. And then it's voluntary. In most situations, business ethics is not compelled by law. It's something that is, voluntary that, person, does based on his conscience and maybe religious guidance and what have you. And that requires education and guidance. It's something that you need to learn, how to, do them. And then it's relative term. Business ethics, applies to business depending on what they do. What may be considered as ethics in my business may not be considered as ethics in another person's business or community or society. So it's a relative term. And the need for business ethics. Why somebody needs to ethically operate as an entrepreneur? Why somebody needs to do the right thing all the time in regards to your business practices? Number one, stop business malpractices. Business malpractices involves adulteration, substandard products, dumping of unwanted products, and stuff like that. All these are business malpractices. There are a lot of medicine that you buy over the counter, and they don't normally serve their purpose. You understand? based on the description in the medicine, if you use them, they will not help you, they will not cure you. So all those are business practices. When you describe your product, you must make sure as a business person that that product serves that purpose. And then improve customer confidence and satisfaction. When customer, knows that, know that you are delivering the real value, you are giving them qualitative products, you are not, overcharging them, you are doing what they are expected of you. You are going to have confidence in you. And that will give you a reputation of being trustworthy business partner. And they will always patronize you. And then leads to survival of business. Business ethic, leads to survival of business. Like, for example, if a business is unethically operating and, got caught, what do you expect? The business may lose its license, and that will be the end of it. So ethically operating, leads to, survival of your business, because nobody is going to, disturb you. You're not going to be cut off in the future. No law will not cut you. Nobody will come and arrest you for doing something unwanted. And then protect the interests of employees, shareholders, competitors, dealers, supplier, etc., and ensure good relationship among them. Why? Because you are ethically operating or behaving as a business person. And then it creates good image, a reputation for the business and the entrepreneurs. Once people identify you as, ethically, sound entrepreneur, people are going to, have confidence in you. People are going to continue doing business with you, and they will stand for you. So these are the reasons why someone needs to be ethically, sound with regards to business operation. And then leads to, continuation leads to healthy competition, not cutthroat competition. A healthy competition is a competition where a business at times collaborate, to operate and, achieve their own individual success or objectives. You understand? Then a cutthroat, competition is a competition where a business is trying to outsmart another, is trying to outdo another, in one way or the other. Sometimes you see a video, trying to discredit a particular business product or service by telling people that so product is very bad for their health or something like that. It's part of cutthroat, competition. So as an ethically sound entrepreneur, you don't, do this kind of competition. You do what they call, ethical competition, healthy competition. And then it promotes self-regulation and deters government regulatory intervention. Once you are identified as, ethically sound entrepreneur, nobody is going to disturb you. But once you have an issue, a government or official, have an issue with you, then you are in trouble. And then ensure customer approval and loyalty. Once, customer, identify you as an ethically sound business person, they'll continue to patronize your product or service because they have confidence in it. Enhance business performance in the long run. And this will help you to achieve success, continuously. So ethical principles for entrepreneurs. So what I expected, from an entrepreneur to be ethically sound. Following principles represent the kind of behavior expected from every ethical entrepreneur or business executive as presented by Josephson Institute 2010. So number one, you need to be very honest. You need to be honest in terms of, your words and what you do, your actions. And then integrity, you need to, be of, high integrity, you need to have integrity to be an ethically sound entrepreneur. People, you need to, win people confidence through your actions, by doing what they are expecting you to do. And then promise keeping and trustworthiness. You need to be, delivering, your product or service as when due, when you promise to deliver. You understand? Pay your creditors and what have you when it's due. And then loyalty. You need to be loyal to your shareholders, to your creditors, to your suppliers, to your customers, and everybody. And then fairness. You need to be fairness to your employees, to your community, to your other major stakeholders. And then, okay, continuation, concern for others. You need to have concern for others. You need to have respect for others. You need to be law abiding. You need to be committed to excellence. Always try to make sure your products are very qualitative, very, superior in terms of, meeting customers' need and expectation. And then you need to have a very good exemplary leadership style. And then you need to have repetition of good moral and behavior, and then accountability for your actions and inactions. So issues in business ethics. There are a lot of, ethics, depending on the area or section where once it's looking at it. There's ethics of production. When producing your product, you make an act of, making sure that the necessary ingredient, are used to produce a certain kind of product or products. It's a process where you don't adulterate. You don't, adulterate to make sure you maximize profit. You always try to do what is expected, to do. All necessary ingredient and what have you should be, used in the production of particular products, so as to meet the customers, expectation. And the ethics of property right, and intellectual property right. There is intellectual property right, kind of property that come from your own, creativity and innovation. So you don't steal other people's intellectual property right. You always try to make sure you produce your own and use it, and not using other people. And even if you are going to use other people's intellectual property, you are going to give them the credit or pay for it. And then ethics and technology. You don't, use technology in a very negative way, in order to cheat or adulterate so that you get more profit. And the ethic of finance, in terms of accounting, in terms of managing finances and what have you. You don't add figures, you don't, reduce figures and what have you to your advantage. And the ethics of human resource management, how you deal with your employees and other people in your organizations. It's very, important you relate with your employee in a very humanly manner, in a very cordial, in a friendly, manner, so that they recognize you as somebody responsible for their right. And the ethics of sales and marketing, the international business ethics. So all these are ethical, areas where someone needs to be ethically sound in. Ethical conflict or violation from workers. So how does workers violate ethical relationship between them and their employer? Some of the ethical conflict and violation that should be avoided include use of alcohol or hard drugs while on duty. So as an employee, you should try as much as you can to make sure you abide by all these unethical behaviors while working in the organization. Use of alcohol or hard drugs is while on duty is very unconscious. And the negative reinforcement which makes employee dishonest. Anything that will make you dishonest, falsifying figures, stealing from the organization and use to your advantage, and things like this, are very unethical. Sexual harassment of female workers by their bosses. You understand, it's also unethical behavior. So it's very important for someone to stay away from the female workers, and organize them as the normal workers, not harassing them. Use of untrue information, e.g., gossip, and all things like this, are very unethical. Violation of professional or work ethical code and due process. Violation of professional or ethical code and due process is another unethical something. Then not disclosure of personal or special interest in the conduct of official assignment. Not taking like what workers do in Nigerian public organizations. because it's a government or somebody's business, people don't give it the necessary regard it deserves. So they treat it as somebody's property. They use it anyhow they want. You understand, without minding, taking care of it, as supposed to be. So it is very important you put, your organizational interest, above your own personal interest all the times. Then disclosure of confidential information to public, like telling this the trade secret to a competitor or somebody, selling some confidential information to another person to disadvantage of your organization is very unethical. Favoritism in relationship with people, either staff or the organization or any stakeholders, favoring somebody than others when it comes to like employment, giving contract, giving appointment and responsibility and what have you. It's very important you treat people equally in the organizations. Acceptance of bribes, tips, kickbacks, questionable gifts, and other valuable items, are very unethical. Like, a student giving, gift or something to a lecturer, that is very unethical. You don't do that, because there is a kind of relationship that, you don't need to do this kind of a thing. And then questionable hospitality. Sometimes you treat people, with undue, hospitality, you understand, in order to benefit from them or to take their advantage, is very unethical. Then combating public property or facilities to personal use, very unethical. People using office vehicle for their private or personal, activity is very unethical. Or taking a machine or something from your office to your home and use it for personal, benefit, it is very unethical. So an ethical entrepreneur or worker, always make sure he use, office machines and what have you within the office premises, and use his personal, things in his personal, activity or business. The use of inappropriate treatment of the customers, is very unethical. Shouting, abusing customers and things like that are very unethical. And then poor and unsafe working condition, e.g. low wages, lack of job security, overcrowding in office. And then we have ethical conflict or violation from the management. The one we listed before are from the workers. What workers are ought not to do to be ethically sound employee in the organization. And this one is ethical conflict violation from management. What management are expected, not to do to their to ensure ethical, behavior in the organization. Poor and unsafe working condition, e.g. low wages, lack of job security, overcrowding in offices, etc. So as a management, you need to provide a very safe working condition for your workers. Very conducive, with necessary, lighting and air conditioning if necessary, and you need to pay them in relatively higher wages, in maybe commensuration with what is obtainable in similar jobs outside. And then you need to provide job security. You don't terminate people appointment unnecessarily or over a little, misunderstanding. So job security is very important as far as job satisfaction is concerned. Overcrowding in offices, is also something that you need to minimize so that to ensure job satisfaction and effectiveness. And then work overload leading to stress. This is what normally causes performance issues. When you are overloaded with work, eventually do them halfway, because you are overloaded. You have many things to do, and that will cause a lot of issues like stress and what have you. So as far as a management is concerned, you need to try as much as you can to ensure that you relatively reduce the level of workload to your employees. And then exposure workers to unnecessary risks, hazard, e.g. cold room, very sound, room and what have you. So we should try to provide all the necessary protections, protective, clothing and what have you to your workers if they are working in an environment where they need to be protected. And then too much allowances and emolument for the executive while paying the actual workers who do the actual, production, activity, very mega amount of salary and allowances. So it's very unethical. This need to be balanced within the organization. And then bribery and corruption, you don't bribe, you don't corrupt, people and what have you. And then indiscriminate termination of appointment, laying off your employee unnecessarily over a little misunderstanding or mistakes is very unethical. Or over a selfish, over selfish, issue. So the next is corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is a business, effort in trying out to reach out to its immediate community in terms of, providing a certain, intervention for them. So a business philosophy which stresses the need for firms to behave as good corporate citizens, not merely obeying the law, but conducting their production and marketing activity in a manner which avoid causing environmental pollution or exhausting finite world resources. So some businesses have, started to behave in a more socially responsible manner, partly because their managers want to do so, and partly because of fear of environmentalists and consumer pressure groups and the media, and concern for the public image. Initially we talk about the nature of ethics, business ethics, where we said is voluntary. Nobody compel anybody to be ethically sound. But in view of it, advantages to business, somebody needs to be ethically operating, you understand. So part of being ethical, involves being socially responsible to your community in terms of making sure that you do not pollute the environment, by disposing your waste anyhow, by polluting the environment through sound and what have you, you understand. And some people, are not, doing all those kind of ethical behavior based on their conscience. They are doing that for the fear of the reaction from the community or environmentalists. People who, put eye on those companies to make sure they will not, degrade the environment or the community within which they are operating. So because of this kind of pressure group and media, this kind of company, do this kind of a corporate social responsibility. And that is why, they sometimes or at times, go extra mile to showcase their corporate social responsibility in the media, so that everybody, see what they do. So it is argued that social responsible behavior can pay off in the long run, even where it involves short-term sacrifice of profit. Yes, of course, because there is the benefit of, getting loyalty from your customers, your immediate community, and, you will not have, problem with the, government officials, like NAFDAC, like Standard Organization of Nigeria, and, taxes office and what have you. If you are ethically operating, minding all these, agencies and what have you, nobody is going to disturb you. So in the long run, you are going to continue operating, but, being ethically sound or making an effort to be ethically sound, entails or involves a lot of sacrifice, like committing some of your profit or money to these certain activities. You understand? But in the long run, you are going to benefit from it. So it's a kind of, long run, win situation. So application of business ethics and customer corporate social responsibility to the success of the venture. So a number of approaches are available for the entrepreneurs to apply corporate social responsibility. This includes philanthropy approach, which involves monetary donations, scholarship scheme, and aid for development projects. These are the ways, companies or businesses, carry out their corporate social responsibility. There is a philanthropy approach where, it involves, monetary donations to maybe communities that are having issues like drought, like insecurity issues and what have you, scholarship to their children, and aid for development projects like, creating or building borehole, dumping site, road network, you understand, viewing centers and stuff like that. You understand? These are called philanthropy approach. And then we have business policies to source manpower from the host community. Sometimes, the corporate social responsibility, is such that, the company may decide to recruit from the immediate community, so that the immediate community will be part of the employee of the business. You understand? It's another, form of corporate social responsibility, because ordinarily the organization may prefer to hire, highly skillful people who may not be, within the immediate community, maybe from other, maybe remote areas. You understand? But by way of their corporate social responsibility, in order to pay back to that community, maybe because of maybe sound pollution, maybe because of environmental degradation and things like this, they can source their manpower from the immediate community to employ all the people from that community. And then creating shared value through various investment, like allowing the community to partake in the company shares, you understand, and things like this. So it's another way of corporate social responsibility. And then social responsibility among business organization in Nigeria. So even though some of us may not notice this corporate social responsibility, but a number of companies in Nigeria are making a lot of effort in trying to deliver their corporate social responsibility to their immediate communities and Nigeria at large. So corporate social responsibility among business organization in Nigeria can be assessed across all cadre of business in Nigeria, ranging from micro, small, medium to large business enterprises. Examples are the business company operating in oil sector, the banking sector, and the manufacturing sector. These are the companies that make most of the corporate social responsibility in Nigeria, especially oil and banking sector. They are making a lot of investment and telecommunication, in respect to corporate social responsibility. 2009 observed that Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Texaco, Total, and other oil multinational corporations are contributing to economic growth and development through community development programs in health, education, transportation, agriculture, amongst others in local communities. This is, however, contentious and controversial. There are a lot of, issues in regards to these companies, corporate social responsibility. There is issue of corruption, there is issue of all this kind of Nigerian things, involved. So social responsibility among business organizations in Nigeria continue. So evidence of Shell's corporate social responsibility activities in the area of community development program in local community includes, some of the examples of what Shell, oil drilling company, has been doing in Nigeria in its, immediate community. Its education, it does so by awarding primary, post-primary, and university scholarship to local people, building classrooms, providing equipment, and sometimes paying the allowances of post-primary school teachers. Training and capacity building in such basic skills as craftsmanship, joinery, mechanics, and tailoring for some communities. Transportation, road construction, building of jetties, donation of speedboat and cars, water, sinking of water boreholes, agriculture and microcredit credit schemes for farmers, donation of farming equipment to local communities, training of farmers, etc. Others include electricity, donation of power plant, supply of diesel, and among others. So those are some of the activity, corporate social responsibility of Shell, Nigerian company. Notable challenge in Shell's corporate social responsibility in Nigeria in the Niger Delta includes failure of environmental protection. The case of Ogoni people that culminated in the death of playwright Kensara Wiwa and others comes to the fore. Kensara Wiwa, is one of the environmentalists who fought, seriously, against these oil companies for their, environmental degradation of his community. So, he fought so well, and, he gave his life in the process. You understand? So a lot of things, a lot of issues, are happening because of these oil companies, activities. And a high social cost. People of Niger Delta pay the cost of environmental degradation in return to the above community development, aid offered by Shell and other involved in the oil company. The main reason, these companies are making effort in corporate social responsibility in these communities is because of the environmental pollution and degradation they are making in that community. Prior to oil, exploration and activities in Niger Delta, people were farming, we are fishing, we are doing all these kind of natural activities. But after the oil, activity started, that is when their problem, began. Their land for farming, they are all polluted. They are no longer farming. Their rivers, are all, mixed up with oil, and so they're no longer fishing and doing all these, local activities. So as a result, they are paying the high cost of these oil companies' activities. So maybe, looking at the corporate social responsibility and the damage these companies are making to the environment, we can, deduce that the effort is not actually, up to the expectation. Even though there is the issue of corruption, these companies are paying, are doing things, but some few individuals are taking the credit. You understand? So because of the Nigerian factor, things, a lot of issues are being, deliberating on. So effective business ethics programs. Nowadays, many businesses have formulated policies pertaining to the ethical conduct of employees and business ethics programs. These policies include the following: say reporting of violation of certain laws or regulations. In order to promote, business ethical behavior among themselves, business people, companies, and what have you, develop these, policies in order to guide their ethical activity. So number one is set reporting of violation of certain laws and regulations. So if companies, discover one of them is violating certain law or regulation in regards to, unethically operating, this company can report him. Business courtesies to potential referral sources. Business, reaching out to people who, help them in making a lot of, customers and what have you. Business entertainment, sponsoring entertainment and so many other things for the host community. Approval of gift and recognition of volunteer efforts. Code of conduct distribution and training. Ethics and compliance program contracts. Training of senior management in business ethics. Monitoring and auditing practices, of the executive of these companies. Then policy concerning false report. No retaliation policy. Policy for employee misconduct and policy for rewarding good ethical behaviors. So these are the ethical programs aimed at, developing the ethical behavior among business operators in Nigeria. So principal benefit of business ethics programs. So when these, programs are well, accepted and conducted, they are bound to, bring some benefit to the business and the host community. Number one, they will enhance reputation and goodwill of the business. They will reduce business risks. They will reduce cost. Yeah, cost. Because, some people, thought about, unethically operating as a better way of, minimizing cost, which is not. Because at the end, your unethical behavior may result in a very high, litigation cost. You understand? So anybody any business person that is ethically operating is bound to reduce cost of litigation and what have you in the future. Then protection on unethical employee and agent, enhance performance, productivity, and competitive positioning. because employee will be encouraged to ethically, behave in the organizations. All activities that are bound to, reduce or distract them from performing their duties as expected of them will not be, given attention to because of the ethical programs in the organization. Then expanded access to capital, credit, and foreign investment, because when there is a credit investment and what have you, investors will be willing to deal with people who are trustworthy, who are ethically operating, who have element of honesty in them. And then increase profit and sustain long-term growth and increase international respect because you are doing the right thing. Like for example, now, some Nigerians, have discredited our image, worldwide because of the, human trafficking, hard drugs trafficking, and all this kind of, cyber crimes and what have you. They have discredited our image in the international community. You understand? But if we will be, ethically operating as a business people, doing the right thing, delivering the real value with the expected, product and services, then we are bound to gain our, all this image. You understand? So this is all we can take on this model. If there is any question, concerning it, you can drop your question at the forum so that one of us can respond to it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. It's on my computer.